How are we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Vegas 82, Allen vs. Craig on November 18th, 2023. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 14. We start in the flyweight division with Charles Johnson versus Rafael Estevam. Let's start with Charles. His last fight was a loss against Cody Durden in April of 2023. Charles is a very calm individual. He's been in MMA for a long minute of his life. Very slick combos on the feet. He uses leg kicks frequently. He's very dangerous everywhere as he's got good ground offense as well. Big issue with Charles is his ground defense, takedown defense. He struggles in positions that are severely dominant, such as back take. We saw this in the Cody Durden fight and some other ones. Let's go to Rafael. His last fight was a win against João Elias in September of 2022. Dominant on the ground with ground and pound. He's quick on the feet to get takedowns. He's a very wild motherfucker. I want to pick Charles just based off experience in the UFC, but when you look at Rafael, he seems like a stylistic nightmare for a guy like Charles Johnson, which makes me want to pick Rafael Estevam by unanimous decision, 29-28. We move to Trey Ogden versus Nicholas Mota in the lightweight division. Let's start with Trey. His last fight was a loss against Ignacio Bahamondes in April of 2023. He likes to use leg kicks, likes to use feints and counters with his left hand, mostly hooks, snappy kicks with his lead leg. Sometimes struggles with length, and that's not a joke. Trey Ogden sometimes struggles with longer opponents, which he doesn't have that issue right now. Let's go to Nicholas. His last fight was a loss against Manuel Torres in June of 2023. God, that was a brutal knockout. Solid leg kicks. Good in the phone booth with hooks. His left hook is a main weapon of his. Nicholas also likes to keep it in threes. He likes to throw three-punch combinations a shit ton throughout the fight, which is just kind of like his style. Nicholas gets pressured quite a bit, and he is a little chinny. This fight interests me because I wonder what the game plan for either of these guys is going to be, because Trey could try and get it to the ground, or he could just try and strike and find the knockout. Either way, I'm going to go with Nicholas Mota by second round TKO. I feel Trey will be able to surpass the first round, probably even win it, but I think Nicholas might find his mark in the second. We go to Lucy Pudilova versus Ailin Perez in the women's bantamweight division. Let's start with Lucy. Her last fight was a loss against Jocelyn Edwards in April of 2023. She thrives on the ground and in the clinch. Good tie clinch knees, elbows, good control. Her striking is a little off, other than ones and twos. Ailin Perez, her last fight was a win against Ashley Evans-Smith in July of 2023. Very dominant on the ground, great control, ground and pound with elbows and short hammer fists. Chain takedowns, first round is insane. She doesn't throw much on the feet, though. This fight's pretty easy to pick. I'm picking Ailin Perez by first round submission, preferably a rear naked choke, I think. Lucy definitely has the size advantage, but I just feel like Ailin Perez is just better. We move to Jekka Sadeghi versus Lucas Alexander in the featherweight division. Let's start with Jekka. His last fight was a loss against Anshul Jabli in February of 2023. Power on the feet, beautiful counters. His straight right is insane. We saw that on the road to UFC. He knocked this dude. It sounded like a gunshot. He likes to keep it standing as his ground game kind of sucks. Let's go to Lucas. His last fight was a win against Steven Peterson in March of 2023. Slick kickboxing. He has over 100 kickboxing fights. I think that's the fucking stat. It's fucking insane. Right side kick is beautiful. Lunging boxing. He likes to lunge whenever he does throw his hands. Fights out of both stances great and has good counters from both sides. Finally coming into MMA, Lucas, of course, has an 8-3 record. Kind of struggled early. He's starting to come into his MMA senses, kind of like Alex Pereira. I'm picking Lucas Alexander by first round TKO. I think Lucas is just better than Jekka on the feet, and Jekka won't be able to take Lucas Alexander down. We move to Mick Parkin versus Caio Machado. Let's start with Mick. His last fight was a win against Jamal Pogues in July 2023. Really good leg kicks. Straight right is nice. He lands on the temple. Good in the clinch with knees. His takedown defense is good, and he has a great volume for heavyweight. Let's go to Caio. His last fight was a win against Kevin Shalarski in August of 2023. Wild overhands on the feet. Good knees in the clinch. Wild style sometimes. Gets pressured. This is an easy pick, Mick Parkin by unanimous decision, 30-27. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We move to Christian Leroy Duncan versus Dennis Tululun at middleweight. Let's start with Duncan. His last fight was a loss against Armen Petrosian in June of 2023. Very spinny, super slick on the feet with a wild variety of attacks. Likes to use range with ones and twos. rangy uppercuts like smash punches, if you remember Riddick Bowe. Ground game is a little underdeveloped and his cardio definitely needs work. Let's go to Dennis. His last fight was a loss against Gregory Rodriguez in August of 2023. Awkward style, good cardio with pressure boxing. He likes to get beat up. Ground game is very weak, and he's chinny. Yet another easy pick, Christian Leroy Duncan, first round KO. I mean, it's written in the stars. Dennis Tululin just kind of like isn't that good. We move to Chad Anheliger versus Jose Johnson. Let's start with Chad. His last fight was a loss against Alatong Lee in September of 2022. Chad is a bit of a smaller guy, wild overhands with leg kicks, nice jab. Chad usually struggles with bigger guys as, you know, it's harder for him to implement his game plan of throwing wild overhand rights, shooting into takedowns. It's kind of just more difficult. Let's go to Jose. His last fight was a loss against Damone Blackshear in August of 2023. Twisty! Very good on the feet, slick kicks, powerful elbows, power, just very powerful. There's this knockout where Jose hits this dude with like a fucking elbow and the dude starts fucking seizing out. It's so gross. Jose struggles heavily on the ground though. That being said, I'm just going to pick Jose Johnson by first round KO. Alatong Haley rocked Chad very early in their fight, and I think Jose Johnson is just going to do the same shit. We move to Jonathan Pierce versus Joe Anderson Brito. Let's start with Jonathan. The last fight was a win against Darren Elkins in December of 2023. Very good on the feet. Front kicks are insane. Kicks in general are just nice. Jonathan has good scrambles, good on the ground as well. Ground and pound is so dangerous. He throws strikes whenever he can. There was a point where Darren Elkins in their fight kind of just had like back control, almost like a calf slicer position, and Jonathan just started throwing elbows to the back of his head. Let's go to Joe Anderson. Last fight was a win against Weston Wilson in July of 2023. Insane power, likes the overhand right. Great submissions as well. Overall, insane level of just like good. Cardio is a little sus though. I mean, Joe Anderson has wins over some guys that it's like he has wins. I found out that Joe Anderson has a win over fucking Diego Lopez. I totally forgot that they fought on the Contender Series, and he beat him. I'm picking Joe Anderson Brito by first round submission. I know he's got a bit of a height disadvantage, but he has the reach advantage, which somehow doesn't make any sense. Joe Anderson is a Terminator, and he will show it again. We move to Uros Medic versus Miktabek Orabai in the welterweight division. Let's start with Uros. His last fight was a win against Matt Semmelsberger in July of 2023. Slick striking on the feet, beautiful ones and twos. He likes to throw a lot of kicks to the body. He would rather keep it standing, but he usually ends up in a dogfight, just kind of like his style. Let's go to Miktabek. His last fight was a win against Hayward Charles in October of 2023. His right hand is lethal. Overhands and uppercuts will make you lifeless. Brutal ground and pound as well with submissions. Pretty slick on the feet. Cardio could be an issue. This fight's very interesting because I want to pick Uros Medic, as he should win this fight. I mean, Miktabek took this on 4 days notice? I was looking at some Miktabek tape. This dude is fucking lethal. This dude's insane. I'm picking Miktabek Orabai by first round KO because Uros does leave a lot of openings. We saw that in the Matt fight. He got dropped in the first round. He got rocked a couple more times after that. If Miktabek hits you, it's fucking over. We move to Luana Pinheiro versus Amanda Hebos in the women's strawweight division. Let's start with Luana. Her last fight was a win, I guess, against Michelle Waterson-Gomez in April of 2023. Methodical striker who takes her sweet time, good on the ground, ones and twos, sometimes struggles later on in the fight. We saw that especially in the Michelle Waterson-Gomez fight. Let's go to Amanda. Her last fight was a loss against Macy Barber in June of 2023. Heart of gold. Her jiu-jitsu and ground game is violent, powerful on the feet. Cardio is good, mostly due to her volume. Shin is a little suspect, but she can fight through it. Amanda always, for some reason, ends up bloody in her fights. I don't know why, she just bleeds. This fight's very interesting. It's kind of buried underneath a lot of the storylines behind this card. I'm picking Amanda Hebos by unanimous decision, 29-28. I just feel like she's just the better mixed martial artist. I feel like whenever it does get to the ground, Amanda's going to be able to control her. Luana may be able to land some big shit on the feet. I don't think it's going to be enough. We move to Peyton Talbot versus Nick Aguirre in the bantamweight division. Let's start with Peyton. Last fight was a win against Reyes Cortez Jr. in August of 2023. Long bantamweight, straight punches are very good. Pretty quick combos and mixes in his own kicks. Head movement's pretty good. Shit ton of volume. His chin is insane. Sometimes makes mistakes that allows his back to be taken. We've seen this where he'll throw a straight, or a jab rather, and just give up his back and try and run away, and then just It's so stupid. Let's go to Nick. His last fight was a loss against Dan Argueta in January of 2023. His stand-up is decent, ones and twos. He struggles heavily on the ground. I didn't really feel like researching Nick because I know Peyton Talbot's going to win this fight unanimous decision, 30-27. Just, there's no reason to research. We move to Chase Hooper versus Jordan Levitt in the lightweight division. I'm just going to combine both of these guys' descriptions. Other than their wins, Hooper beat Nick Fiore in May of 2023. Levitt beat Victor Martinez in February of 2023. Both of their ground game is crazy, but Jordan Levitt has a bit of a better stand-up just due to his leg kicks and overhand rights. This fight's going to be very interesting because it will hit the mat, and I wonder what's going to happen. I'm going to pick Jordan Levitt by first-round TKO, but this fight could be very wild, all I'm going to say. We move to the co-main event, Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews in the welterweight division. Let's start with Michael. His last fight was a win against Max Payne Griffin in July of 2023. Massive prospect. His hands are clean and dirty at the same time. Powerful punches with combinations, decent on the ground as well. Taunts and leaves his hand down at times. That's my big con for him. He just kind of like leaves his hands and he's like, hey, what the fuck you gonna do, dude? You're gonna get clipped, kid. Let's go to Jake. Last fight was a win against Darius Flowers in July of 2023. Decent stand-up, good boxing mixed with some good ground game. Veteran. Jake Matthews' chin just doesn't hold up with the rest of him sometimes. I mean, we saw that in the Matt Semmelsberger. You could tell that Jake Matthews was the better mixed martial artist, but he just got dropped like 3 fucking times. Which is why I'm gonna pick Michael Morales by TKO in the 3rd round. I just feel like Jake is going to be winning probably most of the fight, but Michael's just going to fucking clip him, doink him on the chin. We've made it to the main event, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig in the middleweight division. Let's start with Brendan. Last fight was a win against Bruno Silva in June of 2023. Overall, very good fighter. Stand-up is beginning to improve with his power, getting good combos going now. His wrestling and submission offense is top tier, and he's actually winning the big fights now. We saw this earlier in Brendan Allen's career, which I mean like 2 to 3 years ago, where Brendan Allen won a couple of fights in mediocre kind of fashion. Some of them were finishes. Then he loses to Sean Strickland. Then he gets fucking knocked out by Chris Curtis, which is kind of fucking ironic if you think about it. Both the sparring partners knock him out. But Brendan Allen actually is winning big fights. I mean, the Andre Muniz fight was a fight that a lot of people thought he was going to lose, and he actually ended up winning. And then the Bruno Silva fight, people thought he was going to choke because I think it was like short notice opponents that he lost a lot against. Fucking broke that curse. Brendan Allen's starting to come into himself now, and I like that. Lay off the trash talk, though, kid. Your fucking shit talk is terrible. Let's go to Paul Craig. Last fight was a win against Andre Muniz in July of 2023. Ground game is about as good as it gets with submissions that could choke a damn hippo. Looks better at middleweight. Powerful ground and pound. Stand-up is still a little weird, but it's getting there. Isn't getting clipped as often. I mean, that was a big issue with Paul Craig, was that he just kept getting knocked out at light heavyweight. Has great wins over Jamal Hill and fucking Magomed Ankalaev, but loses to fucking Alonzo Menafield? Are you fucking serious? I'm picking Brendan Allen by 2nd round TKO. I feel like this 1st round's going to be nuts, and it could possibly get finished in there. I'm picking Brendan Allen, though. I feel like Brendan Allen's going to show up tonight. Again, I feel like he's going to keep that win streak going, battle his way through this fight, get him another main event. I don't mind Apex main events with random middleweight contenders. I'm UFC Thoughts, and these have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Vegas 82, Allen vs. Craig, on November 18th, 2023. My confident picks reside with Christian Leroy Duncan, Peyton Talbot, and in the co-main event, Michael Morales. My pre-card rating is a 5 out of 10. Pretty mediocre card, if you ask me. I know I didn't upload the UFC 295 afterthoughts video. That'll come probably with the afterthoughts for UFC Vegas 82. I've just kind of been slammed with schoolwork this week. And yeah, I'll see you guys after the fights. Peace.